AITA for evicting our tenants of 22 years? Edit 4. I sent this to my husband. He told me when he was there in April, installing a new hot water tank, that he told them, well, the dad, that we'd likely be giving notice this summer. Edit 3. It seems 2 months is not enough notice. I have sent them an email giving them in addition 2 months, bringing it up to 4 months notice. Our son is 22 years old. When he was born, we bought a second home, always with the intention of gifting it to him when he was an adult. It's a modest home, 2-bedroom bungalow, with a developed basement that has an additional room, about 10 minutes from where we live. When we bought it, we listed it for rent, and a lovely couple started renting. They went on to have 6 children. They chose not to move and continue living in the 3-bedroom home with the kids. The dad works. The mom stays home. Important to note that we bought this home in 2000, even with a 15-year mortgage. The mortgage was quite low, and the rent not much more than the mortgage. We've only raised the rent 4 times in the 22 years they have lived there, and the rent is still well below average for our area. I did look it up. An average rent where we are for a similar house is $20,002,600 per month. Our renters have been paying $1,300 per month. When they started renting, we did talk to them. We did tell them this house was eventually for our son. We never actually expected to have the same renters for 22 years. Our son graduated university in June, and has been staying with us since then. But he's a responsible young man, and we decided that Christmas would be a good time to gift him this home. At the beginning of September, we talked to our tenants and gave them a 2-month election notice, figuring we'd have November, December to get the house cleaned and any repairs done. Understandably, they are not happy. They have been posting all over social media about what bad people we are, kicking them out, how they can't afford to rent anything big enough for their family. Their oldest kid, 19, even found my son on Facebook and sent him a horrible message. He had no idea we were planning to gift this to him. Their Facebook posts have been shared in our local community groups, and everyone is commenting about what evil landlords we are. AITA for evicting long-term tenants so our son can move in? Edit to add. We did mention gifting the house to our son when he started university. So we told them when they moved in 2000, and when he started uni in 2018. Edit 2. It wasn't a legal eviction notice. We also didn't break the lease. 5 years ago they decided not to renew as they thought they might buy soon and moved to a month lease. NTA. They have rented from you for 2 decades. If they thought you were terrible landlords, they wouldn't have stayed. Get screenshots of everything and consult an attorney. If nothing else, get a cease and desist letter to them. I'd also get the lawyer to get a legal letter to them with a month notice to vacate. The sooner you can get the legal eviction started, the better. Chances are they aren't going to leave on their own. NTA who stays in a rental for 22 years paying well below the limit and gets mad when the owner wants to do something with their own property? People who think accommodations should always be made. 2 months is more than adequate for someone without a lease. I hate to say it, but they are probably going to be pretty destructive over the next few months and leave the place in less than ideal condition. Be careful. NTA. You literally gave them 22 years to prepare. How could you be the everyone here saying YTA is insane. You have been more than fair, even keeping them at a low rent. How could they say you are You are not responsible for providing them housing. Based on their actions, I would hold firm on a 2-month deadline. Had they been civil, I would have extended it, but they do not deserve it. You will be lucky if they don't wreck the house at this point. NTA. So, 5 years ago they chose to go with a month-by-month lease. Does that mean they only need to give you a month notice to move? And if so, they are upset because you have given them 2 months notice. You're obviously happy to give them more time despite them bad-mouthing you all over the place, and I commend you for your decency. But at the end of the day, it's a rental property and you have every right to ask them to move on. They had 22 years to save for their own home, or at least to make sure they're financially stable to cope with any changes. I really feel for you. But this is a business arrangement and you owe them nothing more than a reasonable time to relocate. NTA with your edit about them not renewing. 60 days notice isn't much when you've lived somewhere for 22 years. But with the information provided up front and the reminder in 2018 and their choice to move to month plus the lower cost of rent they've been paying, I think you're out of awe territory. Could you give them until the end of the year maybe? You can still gift it. Your son just wouldn't take possession until it's been repaired, cleaned, etc. after they vacate. NTA. The gift of a $1,300 monthly rent for 22 years if generous enough. They're just pissed off they actually have to pay the average rent and the gravy train is over. You gave them ample notice. Cut ties and try to ignore social media. Did I miss the part where you forced them to have 6 kids? Or the part where you made them have a family they could not support? Wait, you mean you aren't in charge of either their reproductive decisions or their financial ones? Go figure. NTA. It's not your problem they can't afford their ideal living space. Since they have been paying such low rent for so long, they should have saved enough to move out. If you want to share your side of the story, just make your own post. Is this really an eviction or are you merely ending their tenancy? Eviction is a legal process. Giving them 60 days notice is just terminating a rental agreement. As someone who just gave 4 months notice to a longtime tenant since I'm moving in, let me give you advice. Talk to a real estate attorney immediately. A couple days before my tenant was supposed to vacate, he sent me an email making it clear this wouldn't be easy. I talked to a real estate attorney and found out that here in California, this is called a no-fault eviction and there's very specific rules, language that must be followed. This restarted the clock. He got 2 extra months, including 1 free to comply with the law. The talk with the attorney is not that pricey and worth it. Plus, I'm sure everyone else will tell you gifting your son the house while you're still alive is not a good idea from a tax perspective. Talk to an estate attorney and do this the right way. This is in the best financial interest of you and your son. NTA. You were up front with them from the beginning. Your tenants had 22 years to plan. And the fact that they didn't renew their lease 5 years ago indicates that they hadn't forgotten about your plan to gift the house to your son. Document everything they've said, done, and the condition of the house after they've left. NTA. The going on social media after a 22-year decent relationship with a landlord who has not jacked up rent really makes them look bad. Their son going after your son on Facebook is beyond reprehensible if the parents knew about it. When you do give formal notice, you are ending their tenancy. Talk to a real lawyer and make sure everything is legal. And also include a clause that the extension of ending their lease for 4 months before they need to be sure to include a clause that this is in goodwill with the presumption they will return the home in good order and no further harassment of your kid. Because I am guessing their deposit is $1,300 and they could easily thrash the place to upwards of tens of thousands in damages. NTA. And a no-brainer from what's written here and the housing markets I'm used to. Often 1-year lease, then month to month in some places. Others requested 3 months' notice. Renters should not expect to be allowed to rent forever. An apartment building might end up being sold or torn down. Private landlords may have other ideas for their properties. Keeping their rent that low was a great kindness on your part, especially as they now have an adult son who may consider contributing to his family's new rental. Though that's something for them to sort out. In a sense, while you gave them 2 formal months' notice, you gave them a 22-year heads-up. If you could give them a bit more time to find a place, I bet that could help how they are feeling about it. NTA and do an inspection to know what your house looks like now versus when they leave. If they're trashing you on social media, I wouldn't put it past trashing the house before they leave. NTA gave them plenty of notice. How are they even legally in that house with 8 people? Either way, sounds like you've been more than generous. Gave notice twice and going MTM. Whoa, a significant rent increase is generous. My rent would be $500 more per month in CO between a year lease or MTM. Time for them to go. People take advantage of nice. NTA. Do you have a month-to-month signed lease with them? You gave them double the notice a month-to-month requires in my area, and you are extremely generous. Landlords with the rent you've been charging a large family to live in a small house. In addition, I saw you gave them 2 more months in spite of their ridiculously inappropriate SM smear campaign. Make sure the terms are in writing and keep notes. Also put in writing a rent increase to market value should they somehow miss the deadline. This may not be as easy as you thought, and frankly, they sound entitled and might think you're pushovers. NTA. You've been more than generous with the rent, given that it's not reasonable for them to remember exactly how old your son is, and how 22 years would have made that feel like their home. It would have been nice to give them a heads up. You could have events started reminding them a year or 2 in advance. But that's just being nice. It's not your legal responsibility, and they should have been preparing for this. NTA. They have had 22 years. It is your home. $1,300 a month is a steal. You don't need to defend yourself, and I wouldn't worry about the Facebook posts. They are looking for sympathy. They seem confused on renting. It's your house and they knew they would have to move out at some point. You were nice enough to give them an estimated time frame. Twice. They are on a month-to-month agreement because they made the decision to change their terms. Giving them more notice was another nice thing to do. So extra NTA.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. AmITheAsshole is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.